Okay, so if you're tuning in, maybe you're feeling it too. That big drop in motivation.
Ah,
Yep.
yes. The
Yep.
great motivation evaporation, as you called it.
Exactly. The calendar flips, it gets darker earlier, colder, and suddenly just doing things feels impossible. Forget exercise. Sometimes just getting off the sofa feels like a huge ask. You just want that blanket.
And you know what? That's okay. We're absolutely not here to judge that feeling. I think our mission for this deep dive, looking at the research you sent over, is really to understand why that happens.
Right.
And maybe replace that, well, that toxic no excuses mindset with some actual self-compassion and find ways to move that feel genuinely doable.
Permission to be human, basically.
Exactly. Permission to be human. Because this dip, it's not some personal failing. Well, it's biological. We'll get into that.
Yeah, we've got some fascinating sources, some looking at the physical side, the seasonal changes, and then really diving into the brain science, dopamine, motivation, how that actually works. Hopefully it helps us all stop beating ourselves up when we slow down, because it feels inevitable sometimes, doesn't it?
It really does. And, connecting this to the bigger picture, like you said, understanding the biology, that's the first step. It really is, towards being kinder to ourselves.
Because finding yourself with absolutely zero drive, it's not just you.
Not at all. It's a completely normal human thing, especially during these big seasonal shifts when, everything outside is changing so fast.
I think a lot of people just assume, oh, I'm just lazy today, or I lack discipline.
Yeah, that internal critic gets loud.
But the sources remind us it's way bigger than that. It's deeply biological.
It really is. And the research confirms, if you feel that motivation just plummeting as the days get shorter, you are definitely not alone. We should probably talk about seasonal affective disorder, SAD.
Right, SAD.
So the severe form, that affects about maybe 5% of adults. But here's the key thing, up to 20%, maybe even more, experience milder forms. The winter blues, that fall slump.
20%. Wow, that's like 1 in 5 people feeling this kind of biological drag.
Exactly. That's a huge chunk of the population just naturally adjusting to this chemical shift. It really explains why our bodies might be protesting against, say, a super early, intense workout when it's still dark out.
Okay, so what is actually happening in our brains, when we lose that daylight?
Yeah, so the science of the seasonal shift is pretty clear now. Less sunlight hitting our eyes directly impacts brain chemistry. 2 main ways, really.
Right.
First, it dials down the production of serotonin.
Mm-hmm.
We all know serotonin, right? The feel-good neurotransmitter. It helps stabilize mood.
Mm-hmm.
So when serotonin dips...
Your mood and energy just tank.
Exactly. That's the connection we often hear about with winter, right?
Yeah. What's the second part?
The second part, and this one's often overlooked, is melatonin disruption. Melatonin is the hormone that, runs your sleep cycles.
Right. Sleep.
So shorter days mean the timing and the amount of melatonin release can get all messed up. That leads to feeling tired all the time, even if you slept, or just not getting truly restful sleep.
Ah, okay.
So you put those two together, lower serotonin, wonky melatonin, and it hits your energy, your mood, and your basic motivation to do stuff you normally enjoy. You're literally fighting a chemical shift inside your own body.
That frame makes such a difference. It feels less like, what's wrong with me? And more like, okay, my body's adapting.
Exactly. It's a survival mechanism in a way.
But then comes the culture clash, right? Because just when we feel that biological dip, what does wellness culture, especially fitness culture, yell at us?
Oh, yeah. Push through it. No excuses.
That whole mentality, it just heaps guilt on top of the fatigue we're already feeling.
And this is where the research gets really critical, that whole shame-based thing. We have actual data showing these tactics. They don't just feel awful. They fail.
Yeah.
Like spectacularly.
How bad?
Some studies, I think, from health psychology research, point to an 80% failure rate. 802 for long-term behavior change when using shame or guilt.
80%? That's staggering. Seriously, why would anyone keep using a tactic that fails 4 out of 5 times?
Right.
And we punish ourselves when it inevitably does fail. So why? Why does no excuses backfire so consistently?
Well, think about it. Harsh self-talk, guilt, shame, saying things like, you're so lazy, or just get up already. That actually triggers your body's threat response. Like you're under attack.
From yourself.
Exactly, from yourself. So movement, instead of being something positive or regulating, gets linked with stress, with punishment, with danger almost.
Mm-hmm.
And if your system's already low on energy and those feel-good chemicals, adding threat just makes you want to retreat more.
So it creates this negative feedback loop. Instead of motivating, shame builds a wall, makes you want to hide under the covers even more.
Precisely. It might give you a quick, stressful burst of adrenaline to get you out the door once, maybe, but it builds this really negative relationship with movement long term. It's just not sustainable.
Okay, so what's the alternative then? If beating ourselves up doesn't work?
Self-compassion. It sounds soft, maybe, but the research backs it up consistently. Self-compassionate approaches actually lead to more consistent exercise habits than self-criticism.
Really? How?
Because when you approach yourself with kindness, especially during these low motivation times, acknowledging, okay, this is hard right now, my energy is low because of the season, you're much more likely to maintain some level of activity, even if it's small.
Which is the real goal, right? Consistency over intensity.
Exactly. It's about building sustainable habits,
Yeah.
not about perfection or punishment.
Okay, so if shame is out, let's look at what does work internally. How our brains are actually wired for motivation. This is where it gets really interesting, right? The dopamine piece.
Yeah, this is super fascinating. And there's been a bit of well, a correction in how we understand dopamine lately. We used to think of it mostly as the reward chemical, the pleasure hit you get after you finish something, the trophy.
Right, like eating the chocolate cake, that's the dopamine hit.
Well, yes and no. The newer neuroscience shows dopamine is actually released more during the pursuit, the seeking, the pathfinding toward a goal, not necessarily just when you get the reward itself.
So it's not the feeling of crossing the finish line, it's more the excitement of seeing the finish line up ahead, or even just starting the race.
Exactly like that. Think about an animal searching for food or water. The big dopamine surge isn't just when they finally eat or drink. It's that moment they smell the water or spot the oasis in the distance.
Oh, okay.
That possibility of reward floods the system with dopamine, giving them the drive, the energy to keep going. It puts you into forward action.
That makes sense. That sudden burst of energy you get when you realize, oh, the end is in sight, or I found a clue.
Precisely. It's the anticipation, the seeking. And dopamine works closely with his cousin, epinephrine adrenaline, in this kind of cycle. Crave, work, seek, get a little closer, crave more, work more.
Okay, so how do we use that? If dopamine is about the seeking, not just the getting, does that mean like ticking off a tiny task gives us a better hit than aiming for some huge, distant goal?
In many ways, yes. Because completing something small, something achievable, gives you that consistent hit to the seeking system.
Yeah.
It keeps the cycle going.
Right.
So the key insight here, the really smart thing to do, is to learn how to sort of recalibrate your internal celebration. Attach that feeling of a win, that dopamine rush, to the effort process itself, not just the giant final result way down the line.
So celebrate putting on your running shoes, not just finishing the run.
Exactly. Celebrate decided to do 5 minutes of stretching. Celebrate walking to the end of the block, because that effort is the win in that moment. It generates its own motivation for the next step.
That feels revolutionary for habit building, because if I only get the reward feeling after, say, an hour-long intense workout and I only have 15 minutes today, I'm set up to feel like a failure.
Right. You get nothing.
But if the reward comes from just starting, just doing something, I can collect those little dopamine hits all day long.
That's it precisely. And the amazing thing is the capacity to tap into dopamine this way as a motivator, as the fuel for seeking its endorphin, it's basically infinite. Unlike, say, the pleasure from eating cake, which fades quickly, habits are built on these small, consistent internal rewards. Moving that mental finish line closer makes the whole process feel less daunting and actually gives you more energy.
Okay, wow. So bringing this back to us, under the blanket, feeling that biological slump, what does this neuroscience tell us to do?
It tells us to set the bar ridiculously, almost comically low, and to fully embrace this idea of gentle movement.
Gentle movement. I like the sound of that.
It means ditching that all or nothing, thinking that the shame culture loves so much. And the data, the practical data backing up low-intensity effort is fantastic. It should be a huge relief.
Okay, give us the good news.
You really don't need an hour-long killer workout to get benefits. Research shows just like 10 to 15 minutes of low-intensity movement. Think a gentle walk. Some light stretching that can significantly improve your mood. We're talking about boosting endorphins by maybe up to 30%.
For just 10 minutes, that's a massive return on investment, especially when you're feeling drained. That's a process win right there.
It absolutely is. And there's this concept, movement snacking. You heard of this?
Movement snacking. Tell me more.
Yeah, research highlighted in places like the American Journal of Lifestyle Medicine suggests that just accumulating these little bits of movement throughout the day, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, provides something like 70 to 80% of the big cardiovascular and mental health benefits you'd get from one long structured workout.
70 to 80% just from snacks.
Okay.
That completely changes the game. That flips the script on what counts as exercise.
It really does. Because it's about working with your energy level, not fighting against it. Even super brief sessions, like 5 minutes, the sources show, can lower stress hormones, like cortisol, by up to 25% sometimes.
Wow.
Suddenly, moving doesn't feel like this huge, threatening task you have to gear up for. It feels manageable.
Yeah.
Safe, even.
Reducing stress with movement that doesn't feel stressful, that's the sweet spot. Okay, so we pulled some specific, like, super achievable ideas from the sources for those really low motivation days. The goal is just momentum, right? Any forward movement.
Exactly. We're talking tiny things that take less than 15 minutes, maybe less than 5, like dancing to one single favorite song in your kitchen. Full-on dance party for 3 minutes.
I can do that.
Or stretching during TV commercials. Taking a slow 10-minute walk, maybe just around the block, maybe just the mailbox and back. Even simpler. Just standing up and moving around for 2 minutes every hour if you're sitting working. The key isn't the intensity, it's the consistency. It's just doing something.
And what's the payoff for adopting this flexible, gentle approach long term? Does it stick?
The data strongly suggests yes. It builds resilience. People who adopt this flexible, self-compassionate style, they adjust their goals based on how they actually feel. Each day, they're about 63% more likely to stay active all year round compared to people who try to rigidly stick to some punishing schedule no matter what.
63% more likely. That's huge.
It is. It's not about chasing some airbrushed ideal of perfection. It's about building a sustainable, realistic habit that works with your actual life, including those biological dips in gloomy weather. Unfiltered health, maybe?
Unfiltered health. I like that. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up. Synthesize this deep dive. We've basically learned that feeling unmotivated, especially seasonally, is often biological brain chemistry, sunlight, sleep cycles. It's not a character flaw.
Right. Not personal failure.
And the answer isn't guilt or shame, that no excuses. Stuff actually backfires like 80% of the time.
Counterproductive.
Instead, we need to work with our brain's wiring. Use dopamine strategically by rewarding the process, the seeking, the small effort itself.
Celebrate the trying.
And finally, doing something small, that gentle movement, those movement snacks, is way, way better than aiming for perfection and ending up doing nothing at all.
Absolutely. And just to add, if this dip in motivation feels really overwhelming, if it's seriously impacting your daily life and feels more like depression, please remember that self-care also includes reaching out for professional support. That's crucial.
Good point.
Things like prioritizing any sunlight you can get, keeping a regular sleep schedule as much as possible, staying connected with people, those are also vital tools here. Seeking help is always a sign of strength.
Definitely. This whole conversation really flips the script, doesn't it? Away from punishment and towards, well, working smarter with our own biology.
Working with ourselves, not against ourselves.
Which leaves us with that final thought to chew on. Maybe the goal isn't really to conquer our lack of motivation, but just to get better at navigating it, to learn how to gently work with it when it shows up.
I think that's a much kinder and probably more effective way to look at it.